We're talking to Davíð Arnórsson. You can call him David. He's one of the owners of the Artic Bakehouse in Prague, which has been an instant hit with the people that live in the city. You go there and there is a queue outside the door, and it's kind of been like that for 3 years since they started. Very interesting story that he has. He told me about his childhood in Vestmannaeyjar, which are islands south of Iceland, very special place, volcanic island, and my experience of the people there is that they're a little bit different, and I think David, as we call him, falls into that category. He told me also how he decided to become a baker at a very young age, and seeing his father being a baker, idolizing him. He told me about how he once made Cake of the Year in Iceland, got to meet the president, and the president was showing him around his house like nothing else was more normal. And the prime minister, one of Iceland's most legendary prime ministers, I must say, sent him a birthday present when he turned 30. And yeah, a few other things though that happened to him in Iceland that are interesting. And then he told me a little bit about how it was, or how they ended up here in Prague, and why they chose Prague, and so on, and what were the challenges of starting a business like this, and explained me everything there is about what makes a bakery like Artic Bakehouse different. What is it that makes it artisan, and what does it mean to be artisan? And yeah, it was really interesting talk. I hope you will enjoy it. To the sponsors, we have Alfred.cz. It's your job searching app and webpage, available in Czech, English and Slovak. Thousands of jobs, new jobs every day, and you can put it on your phone or on your computer, and you can set up a so-called job watch, so you can see jobs that are relevant to you, and you don't have to browse through a million other jobs that are for other people. And then it's the Oat Bar, that's in Karlín by Krisikova. Sells oatmeals and skyr by an Icelandic recipe, made specially for the Oat Bar, not available anywhere else in the city. You can come by and pick up or get sent home on Volt or Bolt. Yeah, it's open from 8:30 to 3 o'clock Monday to Thursday, Fridays from 8:30 to 1:30, and Saturdays from 8:30 to 1:30. Check it out, guys. It's really good stuff, and also healthy goodies, good coffee. Come by. They will be happy to see you. Enjoy. Welcome, David.
Thank you.
Your name is Davíð.
Davíð Arnórsson.
Yeah, but I'm going to call you David just for the sake of English. You're a fellow Icelander.
Yes, I am.
And it's a second time that I have someone from Iceland on the podcast doing it in English, which is a little bit weird, but yeah, that's how it is. You're here because you are one of the owners and founders of the Artic Bakehouse, which is I would say, probably the most popular bakery in Prague.
Yes, me and my partner Guðbjartur Guðbjartsson.
Yeah.
We started this business 3 years ago. We opened up 3 years ago, and yeah, it's been extremely successful from day one. It's like unbelievable.
Yeah.
So yeah, and we are busy 7 days a week and 365 days a year, and it's been growing enormously for on these 3 years.
Has it surprised you? Has it been more or better than you thought?
Yeah, especially during the first year, it was because we are so unknown, and but when you start having this success during the first year, the second and the third, of course, was a little bit surprising, but it's more real, and it's so it's getting a little bit less surprising now, because it's 3 years now.
But it's like an artisan bakery in
a way.
Totally. And what's that for? Like, you know, what makes a bakery artisan?
It's like, you know, we are doing it like it's like if you come to Artic Bakehouse, we are doing everything from scratch by hand, and we have, of course, machinery that it's just like basics like you have in your kitchen, but of course in a slightly bigger. Yeah. And and so we're like we do it in Artic Bakehouse. We focus extremely much on the ingredients. We are like, a lot of work is just to find them, and we hunt them down. It doesn't matter where they are in the world. We will find it, and when we bring it to Prague, and we start to bake. And of course, it's in most cases it's like bio products, and of course they are like multiplying. Like they are so much more expensive than, you know, this industry bullshit, I call it.
Yeah,
and so we are bringing breads to the people here with the, like as with the nutrition is like it's multiplied by if you compare it to the breads you buy on the supermarket and etc.
It's a better product.
Yeah, but I would say
and healthier.
This is bread, and what you buy in the supermarket, from my opinion, it's not bread. It's totally different. So yeah. So that's
and it's an artisan also is that you're kind of baking around the clock, right? I mean, you're and it's visible to the customers.
Yes, it's like we are baking basically on the hour, and we are not baking it in bulks during the night and the bakers go home. We are basically bringing the bakers to the daylight, and they are visible to the customer, and you don't have to stay long in Artic Bakehouse to see that we are doing it from scratch and on the spot, and people are getting warm breads in the afternoon, and like, so this is extremely important as it is with the ingredients.
Yeah, the freshness and and I think also like I mean it's kind of cool. I come to your bakery quite often, and I mean, first of all, I feel the freshness of the product is often warm when I buy it.
Yeah,
and then I see you or any of your bakers baking.
Yeah, it is for me really important to keeping it real and old school, and that's we are getting really successful. That is, I've seen many bakeries go and try to get more money out of it, and they try to do it with less effort. But we are doing basically the opposite. We are slowing everything down, and we are trying to keep it as real as possible. And I will never lose that. I'm gonna say it. I promise you, I will never lose that passion.
Okay, you heard it first here.
That's good.
But talking about this shortcuts, because I remember when I was living in Copenhagen, there was a bakery chain called Lagkagehuset, which is a layer cake house, and there was a big scandal kind of that came out in the press there a few years back there, where people discovered that they were actually importing a lot of their ingredients pre-produced in Poland.
Yeah.
So is that where kind of a traditional bakery could be today?
Yes, like it's happening in so many bakeries in Europe, and for example, France, there were everything. If I think about France, there is a lot of things that comes from France, like in this industry of mine, and if you go in a bakery in France, it's like pre-made, frozen in boxes, and put it in the oven. And of course, the customers they feel it. But it's a shame that, I understand this in some cases where it's just like, I don't understand this, but we're just doing it, like I said in the beginning, we're keeping it real, and the customers, there was one thing that it never lies to you, is your tongue.
Yeah.
So I cannot fake it.
No. And how just curious, because I know that you guys work a lot. I know you told me now just before we started recording that it's actually, you finally have like a team now. But let's say if we go back like a year before, you had your full team in place, and I know that you've been trying to find bakers to train, etc., because it has been very much about your capacity until then. So let's go back a little bit before you kind of got to that place. And how was then a normal day for you?
It was tough. It's like.
When did you start, in the morning or in the night, or how?
We basically worked 16 hours a day. Like, so I was in the bakery 4 o'clock, maybe 3, and I was going home like in the afternoon, like just directly home to take a quick shower, eat, and sleep, and continue. And
every day of the week.
Every day of the week, no breaks, and it just recently started to be normal, like quite normal. But I'm always in the bakery every day still, but because I'm still training people, and there's not so many professional bakers that they can come in and just start working independently. So the company needs me on the floor every day still, and I'm okay with that because it's not my work. It's it's my lifestyle. I chose this lifestyle a long time ago, and I've never worked other profession than this. So that's really normal for me to be there. So I'd rather be there than on my couch, for example. So
and I know that you don't like anything that is on Netflix anyway. You watch the same series over and over again. You're watching Breaking Bad for the 3rd time now.
That's true. I'm really picky on that. I don't know why, but I have these 2 series of
that you just watch and repeat.
Yeah, it's like and there are sometimes better in the second round there.
Yeah, because you notice different things.
Yeah, you do. You started to see the details that you missed in the first go.
And Breaking Bad, actually, I've watched that 3 times myself as well. And because the landscape and the photography is so amazing there that you can always find something new.
Yes.
Yeah. But I know you because I came to the bakery and I kind of we immediately made some sort of a connection. I don't know what it was. It's some sort of a bro code.
Yeah.
And I knew it. I think we both knew it from that moment that we could have some sort of a bond.
Totally.
And it's one of those where we don't even need to meet. It's still there.
Always.
It's always going to be there. And I remember when I visited you and Guðbjartur to the bakery, and we went somewhere for a coffee, and then people were kind of screaming, "Oh, Mr. Loveballs," because you make these pastries called Loveballs.
Yeah.
Are you still like a celebrity in the area around the bakeries?
Yeah, I can definitely say yes to that question, and we are Artic Bakehouse is getting really known in this area and more further away from this spot, but yeah, we hear this like maybe not a lot now because there are not so many
people on the street. Yeah,
but it was like because this pastry Loveball is called ástarpungar in Iceland, and we just translated it to directly into English. And that was a product that we were just going to have it for the first week, just like a traditional Icelandic thing, Loveball and kleina. But Czech people love it, so we are still making them, and so Mr. Loveballs sticks. Because it's still in the bakery. So it's Mr. quite nice. Mr. Loveball.
Anyway, so you're not just here and now. I mean, there is a lot of stuff in the past. You come from a very interesting place in Iceland. To be honest, you come from an island called Westman Islands.
True.
Which is south of Iceland.
Yeah.
What is it like It used to be like a 4 or 5 hour boat ride, right?
Yeah, it was a 3.5 hour. It was when I was young, and you got like 90% of people get seasick on the way because it's really extremely the stream between the mainland and the island is really rough, and so so you're basically stuck on the island
most of the year.
Yeah, you have to have a really good reason to go. So my first 17, 18 years, I was just basically on that island. Of course, I went abroad and stuff like that, but on a daily basis, you were just an islander.
And how many people live there?
4,500
people,
approximately.
So everybody knows everyone.
Totally.
Yeah.
And when I go back on the island, my parents still live there. It's like I never left, It's totally the same people doing the same thing, talking about the same stuff, and it's I like it.
It is an interesting island because it has a really rich history. I mean, the name Westman Islands is because the people came from Western countries, Ireland, I guess, or something like
Westmans,
that. Yeah.
It's really interesting and a beautiful island and
volcanic.
Yeah, it's like there are 2 volcanoes on it, and the last eruption was 1973. I was not born then.
I was.
Yeah, you were born. And my parents lived on the island during that time, and it's an amazing story behind it. And you know, when you hear the story how it was, it's quite interesting and shocking, and all. It
started in the middle of the night, right?
Yes, everybody was sleeping, and it was the day before the eruption. It was really stormy weather, so all the fishing boat was in the harbor, and that's why every islander could go to the mainland.
So they evacuated the island.
Yes, they evacuated the island by the fishing boats, and they were all in the harbor because of the storm the day before.
Wow!
So it's kind of a
coincidence.
Yeah.
Or a fate.
Or fate, yeah.
And I mean, there is a volcanic eruption going on in Iceland now, and for us Icelandic people, it's quite a normal thing, you know. Like totally. It was like every second year, and it's just some volcano, and you know, no big deal.
It's true.
And but this one in Westman Islands was the first time in over 200 years, I think, that we had any casualties in a way. Like, okay, people were not dying, but there was it went over part of the houses and there was no people didn't. Now these days we know about it, you know, many weeks before it's going to happen. Yeah, but this just came out of the blue, and you know, there was like a volcano in your backyard. Like, and it was huge, like what's going on now. It's just like a lazy lava going down. It's a tourist volcano,
tourist eruption. Yeah, and so this was, and many houses was destroyed and still are under the ash.
I visited Westman Islands. I have relatives there that are well, at least the ones that were my age, maybe not the most modern citizens of the island all the time, and but I like them, and but what I always felt that there is some special atmosphere there. You know, you have this huge summer festival in the beginning of August with like 15,000-20,000 people coming, huge bands, bonfire.
It's amazing time, and it's in August, and it's the most popular like festival in Iceland, and I think it is because everything that is isolated is special. That's why I think Iceland in general is special, because of the isolation, and it's for us as Icelanders, we think it's we get a little bit the same as the tourist that comes to Iceland when you go to the Westman Islands. Yeah.
It's foreign. It's different than the rest of Iceland.
Yes, and of course we can drink like pigs like for 3 days in a row or 4, and that's pretty normal for Icelander to do so. But we now we know it's not.
Yeah, we're learning slowly. But and then you have there in this island you hunt puffins.
Puffin, yeah. It's
in a net, right?
Yeah, it's kind of a bamboo stick, like in the old days that you had, and it's a net on top of it that you lay down in the grass, and you're waiting for the bird to fly really close by the rocks, and you are basically hiding behind some rock or something, and you catch it with the stick and the net, and we've been doing this for like decades and
hundreds of years.
Probably, yeah. And it's we have little islands like around the main island there, and me as a kid, I always went with my cousins, like, and we spent like 1 week in this little, just one cabin on the island, and it's like no shower whatsoever, and it was really interesting for a young man to do so, and dream come true. You don't have to shower or anything. Just
great.
Being in the nature and be a hunter, you know, with these older guys and men, and seeing them, like, you know, when you're hunting something, you you touch an element inside of you that you don't do on regular basis.
Yeah.
So it brings some animal alive inside of you when you're young, and I think it's really important for young men to find the animal inside of themselves.
Mm. And then you also, I mean, and I know when you're hunting the puffins, it's a dangerous thing. It's not like, you're not you're climbing rocks and
totally.
and people are dying doing this. I mean, there are accidents.
It can be really brutal.
Yeah. And then you have also this this tradition of swinging from a rock on a rope.
Yes,
which I remember, like, even as coming to that island as a 6-7-year-old, I always remember, is this even legal? And I could see kids younger than me climbing up to a rock, grabbing onto a rope, and springing themselves away from the rock.
Yeah, it's like, because we have to find the way to have fun,
Yeah.
And I think that's this is one of the part of it. And I remember I spent like all my youth doing this, and climbing a rock was no problem all of a sudden, and swinging jumping away from it with a rope.
And no security harness or anything, nothing.
And I
no helmets.
No helmets. And looking back, and we upgraded this sport. Of course, we upgrade everything. Like when we were young men, young boys, and then we always go higher, and we made our own and stuff like that. That is dangerous, but, And looking back, I don't understand, because I'm a father now.
Yeah,
I would never allow this. Never.
No,
I never.
I remember also, like, my most vivid memory of visiting the island, though, is that I saw my first full-length porn movie there as a 13-year-old, and this is before internet, before porn became one click away. And we went to this video rental. I was there on a handball trip, and we stayed in this little cabin that was owned by Týr, which is one of the sports clubs actually there are two clubs. They're both named after Nordic gods, Týr and Thor. And we stayed in the Týr house, which was a tiny little, maybe 25 square meter house, and 15 guys lying on their sleeping bags on the floor watching a porn movie. I still remember the music from that movie. I mean, and the name of every scene. It was a shaping moment in my life, And
I don't know if it is a common thing, more common thing on that island than on the mainland, but you never know,
No, but I was. But it was always interesting to visit. I always had a lot of fun there. And how about your family? I know that there was baking in the family.
Yeah. My father is like retired now. He's like, but he had a bakery on that island. So I was basically born into being a baker, and of course I decided myself. And the reason I'm doing this is because I still want to be like my father. He's my image. He is my role model in life, and that's never going to stop. And so and my father and my mother, they live there, and my sister too. And my youngest brother is also living there. And
people who were born there, they tend to stay, right?
And a lot of them go back. They go for education and stuff like that. And I always saw them come back like 5 years later or something, and they start a family. And I understand it, in a way. It doesn't suit me, but I understand it. And my father is never gone away from this island, never.
No. And then, so were you all? You had a younger sister, and no, you were.
I have an older sister.
And
then it's me, and then I had brother named Aron. He passed like 5 years ago. Then Orri. And then Örvar. So we were 4 brothers and 1 sister, but now we are 3 brothers and 1 sister.
But do you always count?
Yeah, I always count my brother who passed.
Yeah.
When I'm asked how many siblings, I always counting him with. And
what happened to him?
He was he had a really tough youth. He was like this. This pedophile, like he
victim.
I was a victim of sexual abuse when he was 10. And I remember we were like twins, you know. I'm born 1979 and he was born 1981.
Just 2 years between you.
Yeah, and he was early on the year and I was late, so it was like 16 months between us. So we were like always together, you know. And I remember how he changed a little bit after that the incident, and it was basically downhill from that moment, to be honest. Him, and he had so many difficult and he started to abuse everything he could abuse, like pills and drugs and alcohol and stuff like that. And one day he just was taking some pills, like morphine pills, and he was drinking a lot on top of that. And so and you got this like alcohol poisoning, and when you got alcohol poisoning, the body started to throw up and try to get rid of the poison, but the morphine was slowing it down, so it was an impact, and his heart just stopped. So one evening we had this information that he was just he had passed.
And when this happened to him as a 10-year-old, was that did everybody know about? Do you know what was it discovered already then, or?
Yeah, he told me about it. It was a secret because the guy was going to kill him if he you know how they work, these fuckers. But I knew it was really serious stuff, so I broke that promise, and I told my parents, and during that time it was not the same as you do if it would happen now. So there was especially in a little island with 4,500 people, everybody knows everybody, so it was basically teams. They team up against he's lying, or you know the guys.
The people around him start defending him.
And it's normal reaction, but you know the truth is there, and he was convicted for because they came like 4 or 5 other young boys. When he broke the silence by going to the police, I remember 4 or 5 guys came after that. So he has been doing it, and I know he's in jail in Denmark he kept on going.
And how did this feel for you when your brother passed? You know, I went through the same experience, and it had a really big impact on my life. You know, and it kind of changed everything. And I remember that one day when it happened, like every fucking minute of it.
Yeah, me too. It's really weird. I remember every second when I heard the news. And I was, of course, in kind of a shock, but I always forget everything, but this I remember everything.
It's like a movie that plays in your head. It's really
definitely
interesting.
Yes, totally. And you know, it's a tough thing to go grieving. You know, you have to be really strong to do that. I realized that you know, and the only thing you can do is communicate with someone. And not be afraid of talking about him. And I have book with pictures of me and him as little children and growing up. My sister made this for me, and I have this book always where I can see it. And I always like bringing back the good memories. And
that's the same as I do. I try to, like, because my path, my brother's path to this was a very long downward spiral, but I kind of I keep him alive with the stuff that was before somehow, and
that's I think is really like a good way to do it. And I'm really like happy how I did it, and the help I had from other people to show me how it was done, and because in the moment I thought I was not going to make it, and then just the journey from that point to today, I'm really happy, and this is life, you know.
Exactly, and you just have to keep going somehow.
Totally,
But this before this, I mean, were you all of you involved in the baking? Like, was that like the family thing, or?
Yeah, there was some point that me and all my brothers and my father, we were all working together.
So you were a close family.
Yeah.
Like that.
And by work we were even closer, you know. And and without the work we would of course be different, but there is no way to know what would happen then.
No.
But
that's a different path.
Yes, and then this is just what we did. We were, and we working together was always smooth, and we, I love these moments, and it's really valuable for me.
Yeah. But how was it in school? You were a troublemaker, right?
Yeah, I became a troublemaker, because I was when I became older. I was looking back, and I remember the moment there was like kind of a gang in school when I was growing up, and they were like kind of they called themselves SS gang, and they were like they always told everybody that they loved Satan and stuff like this, and listened to heavy metal, and I once saw them throwing up a party in a house that was, I knew the woman that lived there, and she was on a vacation, so they broke in and had a party
there, yeah.
And I called the cops, and somebody told them that I did it. After that, I was bullied like fuck, for 3 or 4 years.
And these were older kids.
Yeah, I remember this one morning I was going to school, and they were waiting for me behind some little house, and they jumped out. It was like a tight, like a kind of a
alley.
Yeah, alley. Yeah. And they put a fire on my hair, and they burned every hair on my face. You know.
What the fuck?
And that I remember that really clearly, but I was a lot of beating, and I don't remember anymore about. I'm not thinking about this now, but this. During so long time, and there was nothing done about it until like 3 years later, I realized because I was a really shy boy, and I was a little bit afraid of everything, but I was really like with a big heart, and I still have that heart, but I had to fight back somehow, and I did it a little bit too much, So I started to be like communication was not. I had no skills there. I used my fists when in an argument and so on. But and it was like when I had my first child, 23, I started to think to the direction of stopping that. But it didn't stop until I was 27 or something.
So you got into a lot of fights and
a lot. Like a lot. When I was a teenager, I fought like 3-4 times a week, like just on the street during the day, and so.
We had, but this was also a little bit Icelandic at
yes,
some point. I remember because I had the same. I mean, I wasn't fighting; I was just being beaten.
Yeah.
But it was happening 3-4 times a week.
Yeah, this is actually true because now these days, if it would happen now, we had authorities coming and we have a lot of problems but that's true. It's like it's like 25 years ago.
Yeah.
You could fight, mate. Like there's no problem.
Yeah.
And I'm when I'm talking about fighting, I'm not talking about brutal kicking in his head when he's lying and stuff. It was like old-fashioned fighting.
Yeah. This affected your school, right? I mean, in the end, you were kicked out of school.
Yeah, in 7th grade.
How, you're 13 then, or 13? Yeah.
Yeah, 13, 14 or something. I was suspended.
How was that? I mean, there's not like a million schools in that island, so it's not like you can just go to the next one.
No, it wasn't. It was not impossible. I just had to stay home, and I was grounded, and it was kind of an issue. I was smuggling some alcohol and stuff to trips and cigarettes and of course some fighting. It was like collecting.
Multiple offenses.
So that was like I broke the law one more time. I was kicked out, and I was welcomed back like the next grade. So
okay,
so I managed to finish that, and yeah.
But you end up going you leave the island, you go to the capital, to Reykjavik, to study baking.
Yeah,
There was never a plan B. The baking was the only option.
I decided that when I was 13 or something.
Uh-huh.
My father was really sometimes taking me, like when I was basically 10 during the night. For me, it was so fascinating to wake up and be with my father and in his work. And I remembered really quickly. I said, "This is what I'm gonna do."
Mm-hmm.
But
what is it about baking, or what was it then that captivated you? I mean, I can understand the excitement of waking up in the night and be with a grown man and have a role and have a purpose.
Yeah, I think like in the beginning, it's just the image of your father, and you go down that path a little further, like because of that. But then you feel that you have kind of an understanding and skill set like your father. And my father was actually a brilliant, like professional. Mm-hmm. So he taught me a lot of basics in the beginning, and I was getting better than the guys who was working there. And when I was 14, I remember I had a lot of responsibility in the bakery when my father was working then. And then you get this self-esteem, this ego is growing, yeah. And for me that was enough. And I just wanted to focus on that, and which I did.
But I think this is a very common, let's say, Icelandic story of men and women our age. We were lucky enough to have really strong role models.
Yeah.
And my father was a policeman, though, and I knew right away that I didn't want to be a policeman, and I did everything that I could to make sure that I wanted to be on the wrong side of the law instead of the right side of the law. But because I lived in a small town, and my father was one of 8 policemen in the town. Uh-huh. So I couldn't even try hash because nobody wanted to sell to me. I really wanted to try hash, and nobody wanted to sell to me because they thought, he would just tell the cops, So it didn't, he was not. I mean, my father is a role model to me in many, many ways, but I didn't want to pick his profession, know. But yeah, so you did good in baking school. You kind of found yourself there, right?
Yeah, it's like I didn't see any purpose in education. To be honest, I found it really stupid, because
as a kid or as a teenager,
yeah. But I knew that I should be able to write, read, and mathematics. Yeah, and that's the only thing that matters for me to go baking.
Yeah. Yeah, you don't need more.
No, I actually don't need more. History and bullshit, and I can just pick that up later,
Yeah.
And it's not going to stick in my brain when I'm thinking about beating something up, on the street.
Yeah.
So it's kind of of course, personal. And when I went to the baking school, it was every detail in every course I was passionate. I was full of energy, and my brain was. It was really weird to because I was totally on the opposite opinion of education.
But it's because you saw the purpose,
yes.
or the end goal.
Yes, I saw some purpose in what I was doing, and I had like I told you, it was like all of a sudden I was kind of an Einstein. I didn't do mistake. It was really weird, man. It's like especially for me because.
Until then, it hadn't been like that.
No, not at all. Because I never put any effort on learning anything in during the younger years. And my father and my mother always tried to make me do it, but there was no way. And there was I remember because nobody could tell me why I was doing things.
Explain it.
Yeah. So I was told when your teacher is saying, "Hey, David, you read this chapter here," and I said, "Why?" Yeah. And they didn't give me any good answer. Then I said, well, then I'm not going to do it.
Yeah. I remember this from mathematics when we were learning algebra, and I had these questions. Why am I'm going to not be an astronaut or something? I just want to work somewhere. Don't teach me something that is useless. And then I found out at university that it actually some of it that I ignored as a kid was actually useful there. But so I just had to study it again. But. So you graduate, you open your own bakery. You're quite young when you have your own bakery already, like 23, 4? Or?
Yeah, 23.
Yeah. In Reykjavik.
In Reykjavik, yeah.
Oh.
And I still that company is still running, and I'm still the owner there. I had a partner like I have now.
Yeah.
But now I'm not involved in that business, but I just have the
shares.
Yeah, the shares. And after that, it was kind of like for me, it was basically proving me as a professional the next step.
Mm-hmm.
When I did that and I managed to do it with a good result, my ego went a little bit higher.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was doing that for a few years, and then my father had the business in the island,
mm-hmm.
and he had some, and he was getting older, and he made some investments he was growing a little bit on the island. It maybe sounds weird, but
4,500 people.
There's a lot of tourism growing there and stuff like that. But it didn't happen. The tourists didn't come to the island because of the ferry. It was some problems with the...
Yeah, for a long time, actually, we had an issue with that ferry that ferried people there.
So his business was going like way down, like straight down. Mm-hmm. And so I just, because it's my father, I went back home and helped him to correct this, and which I did. And so he managed to get out of the business and retired with,
dignity,
without losing anything.
Mm.
So that's, and I realized I was more proud of that than the first bakery I made.
Mm.
And I was going to be there for 1 year, but I ended up in 5 years helping him. And after that, I came to Prague.
Mm. But I saw, because I know you, of course, but I don't know. I haven't known you for a long time. I only know you for 3 years.
Yeah.
So I went to Google and then I started checking out what I could find about you in Iceland. And it was interesting because it's actually such a good example of how Iceland is. It's such a small, classless community, like everybody can meet everybody, and there is no difference whether you come from a rich family or a poor family or what your parents do or anything. There is no class difference, and I love it and I hate it. I mean, it's good and bad. So I saw that you made the cake of the year. So I found a picture of you with the president of Iceland, where you had made what was called the cake of the year in Iceland, right?
Yeah. It's a quite big competition that is like in Iceland, and I was living in Vestmannaeyjar, the island in the south during that time, and I knew about this competition was going to happen like next month or something. So it was back in the back of my head, and so the day before I should return the recipe and to the judges. I was not gonna compete, but there was something just like, I just do it, man, just fuck it. So I made some cake, and I didn't even taste it or anything. I just throw it in, and then I went to sleep after work, and I had a phone call in the afternoon that the judges has made their call about the best one.
Yeah.
So I won, and I didn't even know how it tasted.
What because I remember it funnily. My mom told me also about this cake years ago. It had some caramel or something, or what was the? The theme we have in every year we have a theme ingredient. Yeah,
and in this case it was skyr.
Skyr, okay. Skyr, by the way, guys, you can get authentic skyr at the Oat Bar, which is one of the sponsors of this show. It's
and I've been there in this Oat Bar. It's amazing.
Yes,
amazing stuff.
Good. You just made yourself free oatmeal. No, but so skyr was the theme.
Yeah, and so I made that. Of course, I've thought about skyr. I love skyr, and how can I? Because sometimes you have a theme ingredient, but it's destroyed by so many tastes of other things, spices and stuff. So I just tried to make the skyr. Of course, I made kind of a skyr mousse. That is, and I infused it with lime, and that's it. And of course, some sugar and stuff.
Yeah, but there was something on the outside, like
it's a I covered it with like milk chocolate ganache.
Yeah. That's what I loved.
And I made some raspberry. It's kind of a it's kind of jam jelly thing, and the baking part was like almond coconut something. I don't remember.
And can you buy that cake here? Do you have that in your bakery?
No.
You never thought about that?
No, I'm not Artic Bakehouse. This is kind of a pastry because I've been working a lot as a pastry chef too. I'm a baker, and also I was working a lot with chocolate. So so kind of a pastry chef, baker, and chocolatier.
Yeah. But would you make that cake for my birthday if I asked you?
Yeah, I can manage to do that. It's like
I can provide the skyr. But another thing also, I mean, so there you are pictured with the president of Iceland, handing him that cake.
Yeah, the winner of the competition is like it's sold in every bakery after the result. So I have to teach, do a video, and the recipe is there, and so it's mass produced by every bakery in the country because there's this Woman Day, kind of a Valentine's Day in Iceland. So everybody's buying it. So it's
a big thing.
Yeah, it's a really big thing in Iceland, and the winner. And that year was invited to the house of Bessastaðir,
the president,
where the president lives, and there was a media and it's a big thing,
So there you are, the street fighter from Westman Islands at the president's house with a skyr cake.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
But this is Iceland. This is typical Iceland.
Typical Iceland, yes.
And then that president, if I'm right, was He was a long-term politician. He was in politics for...
Guðni?
No, that's the new one that you met. Yeah. You met the new president, the old one. Yeah. But the old prime minister, you have a story with him as well.
Yeah, I'm a fan of... I was and I am a fan of his and Davíð.
He was Davíð Arnórsson. He was our prime minister for like 16 years or something, right?
And when he was up and running, I was into politics. When he left, I just left too. I really
Elvis has left the building.
Yes, totally, and I really admire that man. And he, because of my love of him, he heard about me.
Yeah.
And when I was 30 years old, he gave me a birthday present.
Yeah.
Yeah, some picture of him with like
signature
and some nice words to me, and also his book, the story about Davíð Arnórsson, and he wrote me some little story.
Intro.
That's cool. So he gave that to me. So I've been involved with the prime minister there and the president, of course.
Yeah, it's it's just really like it shows how beautifully small and close Iceland is. I remember when we were in my previous life, I was doing international business, and we had visitors from Cabo Verde coming to Iceland, and so we called the president of Iceland and asked if we could come for pancakes. And 2 hours later, we were at the president's house eating pancakes with those foreign visitors, and they were just like, "What the fuck," like. It's such a unique thing somehow. This closeness.
Yeah, it's like when I was in the house, when I was invited there, I was like, then the president was like walking with me and showing me the house.
Yeah,
but it felt really normal,
Yeah.
There was nothing because I was not that starstruck about him because he's a really
just
normal
a guy. Yeah, it's just a guy,
It's totally
flesh and blood like the rest of us.
Yes, but if it was another one in other country, I would maybe be more starstruck. But this is so. I felt like I was visiting a friend or something.
Yeah. And I know also another thing that I noticed that I didn't know about is that you were attacked violently, and it was a big case. You came on a TV interview, and what was this?
There was a guy in Iceland. He was quite known for his work of violence, and he was surrounded by. He was kind of a gang member, kind of, It's and so I was on a quite fancy restaurant one evening, and with my friends. And I went down to the toilet, and it's really a basement kind of toilet, so it's no windows. It's kind of a cave thing. And so when I entered the toilet, this guy, he started to be kind of a rude, like throwing some bad words at me, and I was just like, and I told him like, shut the fuck up or something, and I just went to the toilet. Yeah, and when I was finished, I was going to wash my hands. He was in my face and starting to be aggressive. And immediately when I pushed him away, 5 or 6 guys came on me, and they totally beat me up so badly. And my one of my leg, I saw my the downside of my my leg. I saw the shoe. What is it called? Like the bottom of the shoe.
Yeah.
I saw the bottom. Like
it broke your ankle.
Yeah, totally in 2 parts. Like and so it was like I'm okay now.
And it took. It was like a long time. They kept you in there, right?
Yes,
they held you in there.
Yeah. And one guy was holding the door, and they were just beating me up like fish there, man. And it was really dramatic. And when you're stuck in a cave with in this scenario going on, adrenaline kicks in, of course, to help you survive it.
Yeah.
But afterwards, when the adrenaline goes down, then the shock comes.
And you went to hospital. I mean, you were seriously injured.
Yeah. It was all screwed back together, and fuck that. But the
mental part and the soul.
Yeah. It takes time to recover, but and I did that quite well, I think. So now I'm this is totally behind me.
But he went to jail, this guy. I mean, he eventually he was.
Yeah, there were so many cases. He was been collecting these kind of things, and so he eventually he went to jail.
Have you ever seen him afterwards?
Yeah.
And
yeah, I saw him like when I was recovered. I saw him like a few months later, and I walked up to him, and he said, "You're not gonna punch me or something. I have to pay you a lot of money for the damage." And I said, "Yeah, I will never do that." I stopped doing that when I was 27, my friend.
But I saw this. It became like a big media case. You came on an interview, and what was interesting when I read that interview is that you were actually saying that the real victim is this guy. That there's something wrong with him, and he's not getting the necessary help or treatment.
Yeah, totally. And that I was thinking about it because the media, they contact me and asked me if I want to do this. And the first answer was like no. Then I called them back like, yeah, come on, I will do it. Then because I wanted to send this message because he was kind of a media. All the media was always following what he was doing. He was always in the media. He's famous in Iceland, this guy, because of his violent work. So I wanted to put this perspective in the open and send that message to him.
And I mean, they could have killed you.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah, it is. That shows how this thin line is between life and death, man.
Exactly. I mean, I've been beaten many, many times because I can't fight I wouldn't be able to defend my life. But, and for me, I don't, my nose has been broken many times, and I've had cuts over my eyes and fingers broken and stuff like this. And that never hurts. It's the how do you say, the feeling inside, it's
really, it can't break your spirit, you know.
And it created fear in me. I remember that I was looking over my shoulder sometimes, and it those moments actually, I remember those moments quite well. You know, it's weird.
It's really difficult to explain this feeling. It's just like you're
somehow you feel violated. It's invaded somehow.
Yeah, and you have to when you overcome the fear. You can't be really good at it if it is always happening to you, but it can also break you totally down. So
exactly. Anyway, so that was maybe a little bit another thing about Iceland, which kind of connects to what you said here in the beginning. Like you work a lot, and you and your partner. I have never somehow. I call you David the baker, like I define you by what you do.
No.
And the same with Guðbjartur, Mr Loveballs. I don't define him by the balls, but more by what he does. And And that's another kind of an Icelandic thing, and I can imagine on that island being even stronger than maybe on the mainland, because that island is built on fishing and hardworking people. It's not like there's not a lot of office jobs there.
No,
there is real work.
Yes, I remember this. And my generation is this many years ago. It was like extremely like that. Of course, it has changed a lot. The mentality of Icelandic people. It is always developing some new things. But me as a young man, that is like my role models around me were just working men. So it's a strength, and it's also
it's a disadvantage, weakness as well.
Yes, and I had my part of the the bad part about it, and also the success you can make from it. And to make success, you have to have this. And now I'm 41 years old, and I'm still balancing myself. And there's I think I will. Of course, I will never stop doing that. But I can feel it. There's some things in my life I need to balance better. But
do you feel that differently now than just, let's say, 5 years ago? Do you feel that you're growing more into it, that you see, okay, there has to be something else also?
Yes, and I think it's because a part of it is also because you're starting to have success. Because before that, it was just struggle, and when you're starting a new business, that it's always a struggle. But unfortunately, I'm really happy that this on the third year of Artic Bakehouse is starting to show success, and that gives you the extra boost to finish. But
you see kind of the light, or some success and goals.
It's kind of the same thing when I went to the baker school. You get extra clear vision. That's and your focus gets stronger.
Then Prague. Why Prague? I mean, and how did that happen?
It's really.
I remember when I heard about the bakery, I was like, "What the fuck are they doing in my city?" And then I heard, there's some guy with a beard, and I said, "No, I'm the Icelandic guy with the beard in this city," And it turned out okay. But how did it happen?
Me and Guðbjartur, we have connection from Iceland for many years. I've known Guðbjartur since I was a little boy, and we were involved together in some business in Iceland, and he was living here in Prague, and so one day he had an idea, and he took a flight to Iceland and had a meeting with me about opportunity that we need to discuss, and after that during that meeting we just found out the best way for us to move forward is maybe just go to Prague and do it there. So together we decided to give it a shot, and he said, okay, I will go back to Prague and I will try to find some location and some facility to do this in. And there were not many weeks later that he sent me some pictures from Ujast 11.
Where you are now with the main, like the flagship store.
Yeah. He sent me many pictures and said, like, how do you think we can do it here? And I said, give me a moment, and I looked into it, and he said, yeah, I think so. It better be, because I signed the contract. So this is basically how we do it, me and Guðbjartur.
You just go ahead.
Yeah, we are really spontaneous in what if we had an idea, we always have to try. And because there are some good happen in both our lives, is we have a lot of good things coming out of weird scenarios, and we want to keep it keeps our spirit a little bit. It keep it
wild a little bit.
Yes, we need it. I think both of us, we are really similar in that way.
So he signs the lease, and you get over here and you start working on it. What was like? How did you see that landscape here? Like what was pastry landscape? I mean, did you go around and see what was being offered or available? I mean, I go to the supermarkets here and I see people buying toxic waste called rólik. It's like a white bread that is like, and I want to stop them and shake them, and they walk out. Don't eat this. You're gonna die.
Yeah. It's I saw it, and we drove around, and we saw, and what I came here for a week to before we started, just to make sure that like I was okay with it, because I was having a big family then, and I saw it was a no-brainer to do it here, because what I've been doing for many years, it's necessary to bring it here totally, and
there was a space in the market.
Totally, it's totally empty for this, to be honest, and so it gave me a lot of confidence of taking this decision to move all my life here and start this business, and there's never guaranteed nothing in this stuff. You just have to do it, and if you're not available to take some risk, you will never move forward, and you have to be you have to have the power, and you have to get successful. You have to realize you have to be poor too.
Yeah, you need to come from the shit.
Yes, if you cannot be poor, you cannot be rich. Understand? So maybe this is the thing that I've been shaped before. Like as a teenager, I never have nothing to lose, and if I would get really rich out of my business, some people say that then it's going to be shaky, and for you, when you have something to lose, everything is going to get more difficult and complicated. And I'm thinking about this. If that's going to happen to me, I don't give a shit. So
you're the same guy.
Yes.
How much is on the account?
As long as I'm baking my bread, it's like, of course, I'm aiming for the success, but I'm not scared of it. The journey.
So I mean, like, I know it took you guys, it took you a while to kind of get the stuff set up. I mean, like, I know that you needed equipment that was not sold here in the country. You wanted ingredients that were not available here, and actually, I think you told me, or Mr Loveballs said that that was one of the most challenging things, was to find the right ingredients, right?
Yeah, I wanted to. I tried to buy as much as possible in my country, Czech Republic, and the things that are not reaching up to my standards, I have to look for it somewhere else. And it was really because I was sticking to that plan to trying to find it in my local area. It became really difficult to find it because the communication. I didn't speak Czech, and I still don't, and. Sometimes they just hang up on you, and there's always a dead end street, like day after day after day after day. But somehow we managed to do it and open up, and of course I've changed a lot of ingredients since then. But you
buy something from some monks, right?
Yeah, Hare Krishna. They are they do we call them monks because that's the only But it's Hare Krishna. They have a stone mill. Because I use a lot of stone milled flour. Stone milled is totally different product. It's like from the same grain, but when you mill it by stone, you have 83% more nutrition coming out of it.
It's like the steel cut in the oats. When you do the steel cut on the oats, you don't lose the.
Yes, and but the stone. It starts to be like flakes instead of like balls, like under the microscope. So a lot of the grain you're eating just go through the system without doing anything. So that's really, and also when you take the fermentation also into it, we're talking about totally different product.
And then also for the construction, like. That took a long time. There was a lot of licenses to get, and it's a lot of bureaucracy.
Yeah, it was. We had like a historical house, so we cannot do a lot of changes inside. But we can, of course, like paint and rebuild like some. But we cannot take anything down. And it took us 1 year to put everything in to open the store. But it actually took us just 9 months. 8 till 9 months to when our part was finished, but
to wait for all the necessary stamps and licenses.
And for us, where we come from, this is really simple thing that you do online. But here it's we have to write a paper, get a stamp on this office, and waiting in line for one stamp can take you 3-4 hours. So I'm not joking. And sometimes when we're next in line, we are trying to speak English, they don't serve us. So there was a lot of this going on, and our budget was drying up. So we were so close to not even be able to open up the store after all this work. And I think I've told you before. For example, we had to wait for one guy that we had to have a license. There was a guy who had to write down some, what is it called?
A report.
A report, yes. Report to that we will not kill the birds in the area. It's like a rare bird or something. We are a bakery, so I didn't understand why we have to wait for him. And this guy is like 2 of them in the country, and we just managed to reach the one guy who was left in Czech Republic. He was going to the airplane the day after for like 4 weeks or something. But we managed to
bring him over, and he checked if you were going to kill a rare bird with your bakery output.
Yeah.
The smoke or whatever.
We don't know.
Steam or something.
So there's a lot of these, I have to show this respect. This is the Czech law, but for us it was getting so frustrating, and
and especially for us in Iceland, because we are kind of just do it people, and we're used to it that you can just get things done.
Yeah,
you can call someone and it's fixed.
Yeah, and I was feeling a little bit vulnerable in the situation because I could not call and speak Icelandic to my friend that knew this friend, and we fix it in 15 minutes. So we had to wait 3 extra months.
Yeah, and then when you opened, I mean, it became immediately super popular. I mean, it's almost doesn't matter when you come to your bakery. There is a line outside of the bakery.
Yeah.
And it's been like that kind of from day one, right?
Yeah, it's totally, but it's always getting more and more, So in the beginning, there was just like different behavior of the customer. He was buying like just a little bit. So we had many customers, but the income was
low volume per customer.
Yeah, but that is always increasing, and now it's really satisfying to look at the data today. So
and what is it like? What is it that people like about this? Is it what's the feedback that you get?
I think, of course, the quality speaks for itself, but you need to. The attention maybe comes from, maybe it's a little bit exotic for people that is from Iceland. I don't know. I'm not sure, but I hear it a lot. So that could be one of the factors of the attention that it had, because I had a lot of media coming to me and interviews and stuff when I opened. When the words started to spread out, and of course with help with the internet and stuff. So we didn't marketing cost is 0 in Artic Bakehouse. We haven't spent 1 crown.
The customers do the marketing for you.
And we had some media attention. Was like I felt like a rock star here, like for a month. I was in Forbes and all kinds of. I've been in TV shows, and because I've never thought that would happen for a sourdough baker.
No.
So that's quite. It helps us a lot. The attention that it had.
And one of the main things that you have, I mean, you have a lot of good things there, but one of the kind of the key things about your breads, it's all sourdough, right?
Yeah.
And what makes sourdough so special? I mean, now during COVID, you've obviously seen 200 million photos on Instagram of people baking sourdough, and for a period in my kitchen there was like 5 different sourdough starters. What makes sourdough so special?
It's so this is the way we bread was made from the beginning. We it's been. Like when we started to make bread, it was basically made from this kind of a starter, and what this process of making sourdough versus the modern industry way to do it with industry flour and yeast and all that stuff. It takes so much time to fermentate a dough. If you buy a loaf in Artic Bakehouse, we started doing it the day before, and it's maybe 16 hours process, and what is like the nutrition is totally different, you know. And of course we are using like I came into before, like stone milled whole grain flour, and we are buying bio products, and so you are basically buying pure nature, and there's a lot of
but it feels different to eat also. I mean, the only bread that I eat is your bread.
Yes,
I never eat any other bread.
No.
And
the texture,
and it feels, and it doesn't feel the same. It's not like, you know, when I eat other bread or when I've had other bread, it feels like a stone in my stomach, and I feel bad. I don't feel bad from your bread.
It's like, you know, it goes really smoothly through your system, and you know, your blood sugar doesn't go up.
Exactly. I don't feel that.
No. Yeah. So that's basically speaks for itself. And there's a lot of, you know, research has been made with sourdough versus, you know, the other breads. And they are all beneficial for your body. So, and it's maybe difficult for me to explain in details in English, you know. So
I will do another 3-hour episode on that.
We need
with
a lot
video.
of time.
But talking about this, because, you know, like if we look at this artisan, and like you have in the Artic Bakehouse, you are. It's very much about you and the bakers being there. It's about the visibility. It's about the kind of, let's say, the process and the pureness of the ingredients. And there are no shortcuts, absolutely none.
No.
So I get this feeling that we are kind of going in. There's a fork on the road somehow, because on one hand we have bakeries like this, like yours, which are, you know, in other countries as well, and there are some in Iceland, for example. There are some in Denmark and so on. So, and that's for kind of, let's say, going more to the roots, being more kind of handmade, and more care and more love somehow in it. And then it seems that the rest of the bread and pastry market is going very much into, you know, shortcuts, shittier ingredients. And I think you told me once that flour, industrial flour that is being used today, it's not even the same as was 20 years ago. Yeah,
it's and like if you buy, for example, they're always, you know, the shelf life of industry flour is length by bleached. The bleached flour is in their shelves, and you can store it for 3 years or something. You know, in some cases I have to put my flour into cooler because I cannot use it.
It's a living organism.
Yes, all the stuff is in it. So this is so black and white industry for me. Yeah. It's like my bakery. I'm not. Competitor is not like this stuff. I don't see it as a you know, as a competitor.
Yeah.
So
because it's not the same product.
Totally not.
And it's actually going away from each other in a way.
That's
because I think when for example supermarkets started baking some years ago, there was still a baker there and something was being done. Yeah. Now it's just come frozen in a truck.
Yeah, and they're trying to, you know, copy the atmosphere of what we can do in an artisan baker. And by putting some teenager in front of oven and
a white outfit.
Yeah. This is totally bullshit, you know. And it works maybe for some market, but you know, we have to have bakers like myself. We have to make more of them. So we will be going more in that direction you were talking about, to have it, keeping it real, and it's good for you. It's good for the health system that everybody would eat sourdough bread. You know, healthcare would be better, and we will save money out of it.
I mean the biggest threats of health, global health, is not COVID or it is obesity that comes from processed white flour, white sugar, artificial coloring, and all this stuff. You know. We know.
Talking about this, we can also talk about like the gluten intolerance. Why didn't we have that many years ago? Why is everybody with it now? And some people say, it's just like a kind of a fashion thing, blah blah blah. It's not. People are eating industry bleached bullshit flour for decades now,
and we're seeing the results.
The result is now. We have to change this. We have to go back to basic and eat healthy food. Don't save money on food. Save money on television and some shit like that.
Yeah, don't pay the Netflix. Eat healthy.
Yeah, something.
Wondering what you were saying, like, you know, the exotic part about it, like if it helps being Icelandic. I mean, looking from the outside, to me, it looks it looks like that. It looks like it really makes a difference.
Yeah.
But do you think in some way, do you ever think that it can work against you? That somebody will see, no, these guys are foreigners. We don't want them to succeed. Have you ever felt this?
No.
No?
It's like, I think there is something about Czech people here. We welcome Iceland. And
they like nature and stuff like that.
Yes,
so,
I think we are. But I have so many, international, people, friends. They don't have the same story. And I was thinking, maybe if you just take a look at your Icelandic passport, we can go everywhere. I think that's the same thing.
Yeah.
Because we are not a threat.
No, we have never killed anyone.
No, we are like the I don't know, some like a cute puppy or something.
And we've been invited twice. Actually, Iceland has been invited by the British in the Second World War peacefully, and the other invasion was actually in your island in 16th century when the Turkish came. And they took all the women from your island.
Yeah, they did.
And that's a big story, guys. If anyone is interested in history, then the Turkish sailed all the way to Iceland, took hundreds of slaves.
Yeah, it did.
And one of them made it back.
Yeah.
From Turkey through whatever.
I remember it now when you. I forgot about this story.
And there is a cave in the island that is called 100 People Cave because the legend is that 100 people were hiding there from the Turkish.
Yes.
So that's a little bit of a side note though, but invading Iceland. But our passport is really good. Nobody hates us.
Exactly. I think that's the same thing with us being here.
Yeah. So I think like you. For me, like I feel like I said earlier, you guys are working very much, and it's very much about that. What is the pleasure of? I mean, is there I don't know, when you give birth to a new sourdough bread, is there some feeling or sensation?
Yes, it is. It's really difficult to explain this. It's like kind of an ecstasy feeling, and it's like for example, when I made our most successful bread that we're selling today.
Is that Old Bastard or
no? It's
Arctic
called
Monk.
Old Charles.
Old Charles.
It was Arctic Monk in the beginning,
and now Charles has taken over.
And Old Charles was I made it because I started to know the market. They like rye and they like cumin. So I made a sourdough bread with a mixture of these and a little bit of anise.
That's the brown one.
It's
Rye bread.
Rye bread.
Yeah, I love it.
But it's not the cube. It's like a loaf.
So,
and when I saw this, I made this recipe and in a few months
that became the main.
Yeah. So.
But is it like so? You I guess every day for you feel you see the result of your work and you get the feedback immediately. I mean, the customers are coming again, so that must be very gratifying, like or rewarding.
Yes, that's the fuel on my tank, to see this just growing up, and I'm really proud of myself when I see that happen. And it's really good for everybody. It needs to have a moment in their lives, at least once a week, when they feel proud of themselves. But I'm really fortunate; I can feel it every day.
Yeah. You see your work in front of you and the results.
Yes,
of it.
and I'm going to enjoy it while it lasts.
And as we said earlier, I mean, the business has been growing. You have now 2 locations, and I know that you have plans for more. I mean, you've been thinking about doing more, and you have a team of like 30 to 40 people working for you now.
Yeah.
Isn't it challenging in this concept of artisan, where it's very much about you? I mean, the first 2 years of coming in there, I'd never came in there without seeing you.
Yeah, that's true.
And I sometimes thought, shit, he cloned himself or whatever, but you're always fucking there. And maybe we can come to that a little bit later also, how you managed to get through that. But isn't it a challenge to kind of maintain the quality and the uniqueness and then expand at the same time with more people involved and more people baking and doing the ingredients and so on?
It's really complicated and tough. But now, on the 3rd year now, the team that is working now, they are working more and more independently. So it gives me breathing space to look forward and see a little bit more future for the company, where we're going to grow. And that's basically what I'm doing now. But I always have to be organized to make sure that I always use like 40% of my time to remain quality and make something new.
To monitor and observe what is happening and how it is. Yeah.
And I'm really fortunate there because I have a amazing partner. He takes care of a lot of these things because we speak the same language. He understands me as a professional baker, and I understand him as a professional businessman. So I don't need to do. So it's not that difficult.
You have he takes care of certain things, or they're more on his side and other things more on you. But in the end, you're a team.
Yes. So he can be relaxed in his office, and I can be relaxed in my office. So.
Mr. Loveballs relaxing in the office, and okay, so you work a lot, and you put blood, sweat, and tears into every fucking bread and every pastry that is made there, and it's good stuff, guys. If anyone is listening to this and hasn't tried this, if you're gonna visit Prague, whatever, just go and try it out. It's good. It's really, really good stuff. In my mind, it's world class. Any hobbies? Can you do any? I know that you have 4 kids with 7 women. No, with 3 women, right?
Yeah, with 3 women. Yeah.
I know that you're not together with them now, but how is it to have a life outside of this?
It's if I would choose, I would have my children here, but that's not the case. So I have to deal with it, and now we have the COVID situation going on, so this makes it more complicated and difficult to be together. But that will be over soon. But I work a lot, I know, but I have my music. I write music, and I love to sing and write music and play my guitar, and I like doing it alone, and it's of course fun to have someone to play with, but it satisfies my needs to be alone with myself. It's like having a friend, and multiple friends, because you can play different songs, and so it's the same. I get a little bit the same feeling when I play the music as when I'm making sourdough breads. Same vibe, same happy feeling. So that's why I'm drawn into this.
So you're baking songs at home.
Yes, exactly. And I haven't released anything out, and I probably never will. But I want this as a hobby because I had period of in my life when I was, of course, I had my bakery, but in the night I was playing in pubs and stuff, and weddings, and so I wanted to make a career out of my music, but
it's never too late.
It's my main thing, but because I didn't want to lose this as a hobby, my music, because if it turns to be like business, then it loses charm. I'm a professional baker and a hobby musician.
I wanted to talk to you about addictions. I know that you've had some. Yeah, now we need to do a pee break. Wait. Okay, Davíð is back from the toilet, fresh as a sourdough loaf. So addictions. I wanted to. First of all, I know that you had some issues with this. Or like there have been parts in, let's say, periods in your life when you've had some issues with alcohol and drugs and other things. But what I wanted to kind of frame it a little bit is that back to Iceland is that the normalized behavior in Iceland is very much excessive.
Yeah.
And we Icelandic people, for those who don't know, we find it perfectly normal to be wasted Friday to Sunday.
Yeah, that's actually kind of a norm thing.
Yeah, and not necessarily remembering the whole weekend. Possibly, sleeping with 2 different men or 2 different women or whatever, or with your best friend. And then just go to work on Monday, and then on Monday night you see a friend having a glass of red wine with his steak, and he's an alcoholic.
Yeah, of course.
And you're thinking, I need to call child services. He's drinking with his kids, and you just came out of that weekend.
Yeah.
And You can relate to this. I
Yeah,
mean,
totally. You know, it's like
it's the norm for us.
yeah, especially like for our generations. Like it was totally normal.
And we didn't even have red wine or white wine. It was just nobody had that. I mean, we just drank vodka or beer.
Yeah, we were
or homemade moonshine.
Yes, totally. We were not sophisticated drinkers, you know, and it's been changed.
We're still not very sophisticated.
It's in our DNA to abuse this, you know, in a way.
Yeah.
I totally agree with that. And you know, I was just I mean, I've been using alcohol since I was quite young, like every Icelander in my age, and it's never been a problem. It's just it's like when I came here, like that was the side effects of coming here and take my kids and my girlfriend during that time here, and they came year later, and the pressure on me in the beginning was getting way too much for one man to handle. But because that's the weakness of being strong, trying to be strong,
to do everything. You think you have to do everything.
Yes, and you just move forward, and you start, and bit by bit you're basically betraying yourself first and foremost, and also then all everybody around you.
Yeah.
And when you start to see the truth, I started to drink more and more and more, and I realized, you know, my shelter was all of a sudden the alcohol, and then later some drugs, you know.
And so that's in a way an escape, or
totally, and they became that kind of issue for me that was basically a problem, like a big problem to solve.
But did you manage to function though? I mean, you managed to, because you're saying you're strong. You want to take everything on. You wanna make sure everything is working.
Yeah,
and everything worked except
my personal life was fucked. My main focus was to keep, you know, the project going, and you know, and as a man, you have it's in our DNA to go out there and provide for your family, and that was basically the only skill set that I could manage. But when I became the guy who couldn't even manage that, I stepped away from the game from a few months, and I had help to come back, you know, and I, you know. And I always knew that this was going to happen. Yeah. But I could not. There was no time to do it at the moment.
Yeah. You couldn't step away, so the only thing. But it worked in some way. It helped you. I mean, it had consequences for you.
Yeah.
Like you that relationship didn't work out, and your children moved back to Iceland. Yeah. But on the other hand, without it, maybe it would have been worse. I mean, who knows?
Exactly.
I mean, I'm not singing the praises of using drugs or alcohol to help, but
no, not at all. And in some cases, like you know, me and my partner, we sometimes talk about it. The alcohol took us through a lot of storm, you know. But you know, normal man, he will just stop and take another turn away from the storm. But we just kept on going, just climbing the mountain, and you know, it was not an option to give up. And this alcohol shit it bothered me. You know, I can see it now, but it was the only escape for me to have a mental health, you know, for myself. So yeah, I crashed, you know, and I knew it was going to happen, and
it was just a matter of when.
And I'm glad how I dealt with it, and I'm stronger now than I was before. And it's the message in this story is basically we can always turn our bad things to you can become a winner afterwards. I think like for us, like I mean I can only speak for myself, but we came from an environment where alcohol access were always somehow restricted. You know, we have a alcohol monopoly that the state runs the alcohol stores. It was, you know, we had to steal alcohol as teenagers or get someone older to buy it for us, and it was, you know, it was not like. And we are not brought up in a culture where people are having a glass or two of wine and it's fine. We are brought in a culture where you get wasted, you go to a disco and you get in a fight, and you know, and then you go fishing the day after, whatever. And so, in some way, I remember when I started going abroad as a
I remember when I went 19 years old, I went to Mallorca on my own, and when I just realized that I could buy alcohol and drugs on the street, I just thought, wow, this is paradise.
Yeah.
and then I bought something that was probably fake drugs because it didn't do anything, and then I bought like cases of the worst beer ever, and I had it the whole trip because nobody could drink it, but I was just so happy that I had access to this.
Yes.
So I can imagine, I'm imagining you come here alone, your family stayed in Iceland, and here it's a country where people go out for lunch and they have 2 beers, and there is nothing wrong with it.
No, nothing.
And it's super easy to get into it.
Yeah.
I could never do that because I was never a big beer guy. So I never got into it. And those few times that I did, I just got drunk and I went home. But so I can easily see if you have any kind of a reason or weakness for alcohol, this is like a candy land.
Yeah. And to be honest, I never felt this weakness like before, and I will come back to that point that it just started to be a shelter for me because I was alone here and I had no money whatsoever because all my money was just for my family. Yeah. So I was living a really low budget and with no luxury whatsoever, like nothing. So working every day without my family, missing them, and so it started to be like I was feeling sorry for myself. I was feeling sorry for myself a lot.
And this is the reward.
Yes, and I didn't realize it, that I was feeling sorry for myself. I see it now. And that just kept on going. And I remember the pressure that was on my shoulders when I knew the family was coming too. It just doubled. Then I just doubled the drinking. Yeah. So it just maximized each other up and it was
a bad cocktail.
Yeah, really. And what's done is done, and it's like I'm feeling like wonderful now, and I'm.
But I guess also a lot of the pressure is kind of gone off you. I mean, in a way, like you can see that your business is kind of it's out of the wind.
Yeah.
It's not the startup stress that is there.
That's true.
And you got help, so you know these things better, and I mean here you are talking about it, but. It's an interesting thing because I think it's also a little bit of an Icelandic thing. I know that we talked a lot about Iceland and Icelandic mentality and Icelandic this and that and Icelandic Loveballs and whatever, but it's still this rewarding because you were saying you felt sorry for yourself, so you rewarded yourself with alcohol. Yeah. And I feel this, and I think this is a very common thing, if I don't drink, then, okay, maybe I can smoke. If I don't smoke, I can eat sweets. And we are always in this debit credit somehow life.
That's true.
And it's a very, very, I don't know if this is everywhere else. Maybe people always do this. They feel entitlement to reward. But the people that I've been around that are not from Iceland, I haven't felt it. Maybe I've just been lucky and met very healthy, mentally healthy people. And all my Icelandic friends are addicts like me to something. But do you feel this? Do you feel this rewarding?
Totally. And I'm still doing it, and I just accept it, It's like, and it's like because if you start to put something that is like it's a really banned thing. It's like this is a danger zone, and this is everything is taking things too seriously. That's the point where I will fall.
Yeah, but I think we are the same with that.
Yeah. And so I'm still. I think I will always have this in me. I'm
you had gambling before. You went through some period where you used gambling a lot.
Yeah. And everything. I was reading some researches about this, and I learned it when I got help for my stuff before. That it has the same impact on your brain as cocaine. Gambling and cocaine is the same impact on your brain. So that's not surprising that I was also addicted to cocaine. Yeah. So this is
the same the stimulation.
Yeah. So this is the same soup with the bad outcome.
But is your father proud of you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
He is.
And you feel it.
Yeah. We communication skills between father and son is not the like you see in the movies. I can guarantee you that. But we know it's enough for me to know. I know his signals, and that's enough. I don't need to have bombs around it. And
I don't think my father said anything to me until I was like 35. So I mean, I know where you're coming from.
But we learn how to read
signals.
Exactly.
And I mean, where do you see this go? I mean, like if we look, let's say 5 to 10 years down the line, are you still gonna be getting a boner from the latest sourdough?
Yeah, 100%. I've been doing this since I was 13 until now. So, and I've never had. I'm more passionate about it now than I was before. So, but never say never. I just today is today, and and past. Yesterday is
it's
history,
gone.
And tomorrow is a mystery, and so I love living like that, and that's also part of the program for me to be
take it day by day.
Yeah, functional, and to manage one day is easy thing, but if you're gonna manage 1 year, I'm gonna fail.
Yeah, but that's actually an interesting point. Like to look at it this way, because the world is all about like, you have to have goals, you have to have this, you have to have something to compete for. Yeah. But it often means that the day-to-day stuff kind of we get lost.
Yes, that's true. And and when you have to practice this also, because this was not who I was, but this is who I am now. I can feel it, and this is the only way to be free. If you wait, you're not going to think about tomorrow. You will think about it when you open up your eyes, when you wake up.
Yeah.
Then you have a mission, and it's like few hours.
Yeah. I think we're kind of coming to an end of this. I'm actually very was very surprised about a lot of the things that I kind of found out about you. I mean, you're my friend, but half of this stuff I didn't know, and it's an interesting journey. I mean, like you're totally like a dark horse in a way, because I mean, from a 4,500 people island south of Iceland that has a tradition of keeping its people there, it would have been much more easy to stay there, take over your father's bakery, and just always be the David the baker in Westman Islands. And then here you embark on this journey. Are you happy here? I mean, do you feel good here?
Yeah, it's like I love Prague, and to be 100% honest, it's more difficult now during this COVID situation because I have children. So it's really tough. But I always have to keep on going. Of course, I'm also doing this journey. Is just not for me; it's for my children. I'm trying to build some legacy around that. And if I fail this, I'm also failing as a father. In a way. But I want my children with me. It's not.
It's a natural thing. Yeah.
Yeah, and so that's the only thing that is bothering me in my life now, and it will come to an end sooner than later.
Yeah, you will figure out some way to make that happen. And
this is just one
of the
COVID
now, and
it's one of the problems, like similar to what we've been talking about. It's like we just have to wait and work through it.
If people want to know more about you, I mean, they can follow the bakery first of all. I mean, that's Artic Bakehouse on Instagram and Facebook.
Facebook, yes, and I am, my personal social media is not that active. I'm just focusing on bakery and sourdough. So but if they want to ask me about sourdough or something, they can find me on Instagram and Facebook, Davíð Arnórs.
And how is that? That's David.
Yeah, they will find me if I'm the only one carrying that name, Davíð Arnórsson. So they will.
And you will see it in the episode description as well, and I'll put some links to it there. So if people wanna find you, then
and I'm more than happy to help.
Yeah, I mean, and that actually, are people asking you like about when they come into the bakery and they see you like, I'm trying to make this starter here. I mean, I know I did that. I came on my motorbike to I need to get the ingredients for this fucking starter.
And you are not the only one, and I have a lot of people connecting me and following me on Instagram to have this connection, you know, and just for one question or something. And sometimes I have friends through it, and sometimes they just go in the mist again.
But you answer them always.
Yeah.
But that's also a very Icelandic thing.
Yeah.
We treat everyone equally.
Yeah.
I've been trying to write to some people here to get them on the show, and they don't even have the decency to answer me. And I know that they've seen my message.
Yeah.
And I get so fucking pissed off.
Yeah.
I want to throw a fucking Molotov cocktail into their business, you know? Because you can at least just say no.
Yeah.
You know, don't be an asshole and ignore
exactly.
people. And yeah.
Yeah.
It gets me really angry. That's Davíð and the Artic Bakehouse, and interesting story, you know. Yeah, and you're fucking 41. You have 40 more years to go. So when we will be here in 40 years, we're going to talk about the second half, you know.
Yeah, definitely.
Guys, thanks for listening. Follow the show on Facebook, The Bunker. How the hell did we end up here? Bunker Prague on Instagram. My Twitter is Midlife Crisis Warrior, and my personal Instagram is Midlife Crisis Warrior. If you have any cool people that you would like me to talk to, send them over to me. And review the show, share it, tell anyone that you know. Put it on repeat and blast it in the stereo at work. Davíð, thanks for your time.
Thanks for having me, man.
Yeah, and I look forward to the weekend because I'm going to eat some of your bread.
That's good.